Hello everybody, welcome to this instruction video. This video I'd like to show you how to make the square that goes with part 5 of the Stitch Story Crochet Along. Stitch Story has been designed by Heather Gibbs from Keep Calm and Crochet on UK. I'll take you step by step through the rows that make up this square. It's a number of half doubles, then you make this zigzag row and you do that twice and you finish again with a number of half doubles. I'll take you through all the rows that make up this square. Using a 3.5mm hook, I'm using that for both the small and the large square. The yarn that I'm using is Scheepjes River Washed yarn. I'm making my entire blanket with this yarn. So I'll take you step by step through the rows that make up part 5 of Stitch Story. Hope it's a useful video for you. Thank you for watching. Row 1 with a 3.5mm hook, chain 27. That's your base chain. Now we're going to work a half double in every stitch. Going to start in the third stitch because the first chain 2 is going to be a stitch. Then in the third stitch, the third chain, work your first half double. So you've got 2 here, the chain 2 and the half double. And then continue and work a half double in every stitch to get a total of 25 stitches for this first row. So I'm just going to continue until I've got all 25 and I'll see you for row 2. Row 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8 is going to be exactly the same. We're going to work a row of half doubles on every stitch. Do a chain 1, turn. This chain was not a stitch, so that means here in this first stitch there you need to work a half double. And you're going to work a half double on every stitch, so it's going to be 25 in total. And what for row 2 is important is that you remember the turning chain, that chain 2 from the previous row, that turning chain 2 there, that you remember that stitch. And if you're not sure, just count your stitches. You should have 25 here. And if you've don't have 25, you've got 24, then you know, oh, I forgot that turning chain 2. And then from row 3, 4, 5 onwards, it's straightforward because the chain 2 doesn't count. The chain 1 here at the beginning doesn't count as a stitch, so you're only working in full stitches. I'm just going to repeat this for quite a few more rows. So you're going to work 8 rows in total. So I've now done almost completed row 2 and then complete 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8, and then I'll see you for row 9. Then you've got quite some fabric and then we can start working the details of this square. Row 9. At this point you have a fabric, quite some fabric. You've got 8 rows of half doubles. Now in row 9 we're going to work some of the, we're going to start the details for this pattern. Chain 1 and turn. It's got now the front side facing. I'm going to start by working a single crochet in the first 4 stitches. So that's 1, 2, 3 and 4 single crochets. We're going to work front post trebles. Let me just show you where. We're going to work them in row 7 or around the stitches from row 7. See, here's row 7. We're going to skip 5 stitches and then work around stitch number 6. You've got, here's 1, because you see there's that turning chain, that wasn't a stitch. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches that we're going to skip. Then around stitch number 6, so around this post, we're going to work a front post treble. So around that post. Let me just grab hold of these stitches again. Where's my working yarn again? There we go. Of course now I've got to count again, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 skip, and then stitch number 6. So it's twice over for the treble. Grab a hold of your yarn and work the front post treble. And what's important for this stitch is that you work this stitch a little loose. What you want is you want this stitch to really lie on top of your work, and that your working loop here, that this is still all in line with the level of where you're at the moment. If this pulls in and kind of, it's not all in the same line, consider doing a longer stitch or a double treble, for example, if you're having trouble keeping this stitch loose. So you want this front post stitches to be just loose. You want your stitches to breathe. That's what it comes down to. We're going to skip the stitch behind this front post. So you see there's the stitch behind the front post. You see that's the next stitch there. We're going to skip that and then go to the following stitch. We're going to work the first of 3. So that's 1, 2, 3 stitches. And now we're going to start the repeat unit. So we're going to work as said that we're going to do more than once. We're going to do a front post treble in the same stitch as the previous front post treble. So you've got the front post treble around that stitch there. We're going to work a front post treble around that again. So twice over. And now you're going to have to really fold your work. You see, I'm going to have to fold my work and get it around that stitch. And I'm just going to stack them in front of each other, but that's also up to you. If you want to, you can also go behind, but I'm just going to stack it in front here. Twice over, and in front of that stitch, just grab hold of my yarn, and again I'm just going to come up a bit to just give that stitch some room to breathe. You see, I'm just pulling that working loop up and open a bit. That's what gives this stitch room to breathe. And then twice over, and then third time over. So that's the front post treble in the same stitch as the previous front post treble. We're going to skip 3 stitches on row 7 and then work another front post treble exactly the same as the first one. Twice over, so that means skipping 3 stitches, so that's 1, 2, 3 stitches skip, and then grab that post and work a front post treble. 1, the same again, just going to open up that working loop a bit, just to give that stitch room to breathe. You're going to skip the stitch behind this front post treble and work a double crochet on the next 3 stitches. So I'm going to just skip that stitch there, then work 3 singles. So that's 1, 2, 3 singles that I'm working there. And now I'm going to repeat this. You see what I've just done here, this front post treble, and then that front post treble, skipping a stitch and the 3 singles. This we're going to do again. And actually I think another time also I'm going to do it 3 times in total, but I'm not sure. But I'll show you again. So twice over, front post treble, front of the previous front post treble. Give this stitch some room to breathe by opening up, just slightly pulling up on that working loop. Twice over for the next front post treble, then skip 1, 2, 3 stitches on round 7, and that means stitch number 4, work the front post treble, 1, 2, 3. Skipping 1 stitch to the back, so I'm just going to skip 1 stitch. If I look at this correctly, no, that stitch is actually still work there. That's the stitch I need to skip. Then this is my next stitch. So 1, 2, 3 single crochets. Let me just check that I also skipped that correctly back here. Yes, here I did skip correct. See, because there's 1 stitch open there. and now I've got one stitch open here. So that's just a way that you can just double check, and there was, and here, yes, there's also one stitch unworked. Good, so I did that correctly. You know, just double check yourself. There's nothing wrong with double checking yourself and catching your mistakes early. Once more, front post treble, just fold your work to get around that stitch. And 2, 3, then skipping 1, 2, 3 stitches around stitch number 4. 1, 2, 3. Again, going to skip a stitch and work 3 singles. That's 1, 2, 3 singles. We're going to do a front post treble in this last front post here, and then we're going to complete the row. Just twice over. So in front of this last one, work another front post area. Just grab a hold of your yarn and pull up that loop, just giving these stitches a bit of room to breathe. So skipping the stitch behind, you see I'm going to skip that stitch and then go to the next, work a single crochet, and there's going to be 4 left. So it's 1, 2, 3, and this last one is that turning stitch here. There we go. That's always it. There we go. 4 single crochets. So that completes row 9, and row 9 is maybe the most difficult row of this pattern. So we're now going to come back and do more of this pattern. Row 10. This row we're going to come back. We're going to correct for this extra stitch that we have here, because you've worked 3 extra stitches in row 9, so we're going to correct for that. And we're going to just tidy this up to grab this this together. That's what we're going to be doing. So chain 1, turn your work. You now have the back of your work facing. You're going to work a half double in the first 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Next stitch, that's going to be, if you look here, this front post. That's the next stitch. I'm going to work a back post double crochet around this stitch. So I've got my yarn over. I'm just going to work around the post from that stitch. If you can also come through the top here, like so. That's going to give you the same effect. So if you just pop your work forward, just go around that post, and then complete the double crochet. That's just as easy. So you've now worked this stitch. So you see this here, you're not going to work this stitch anymore, because that's actually the top part of that stitch. So you're going to come to the next one. And those are the 3 half doubles that we worked in between here. So if you're in doubt, just pop your work forward. You see those 3 half doubles that are between the trebles. So those 3 we're going to work. We're going to work a half double on all 3 of those. 2 and 3. Now we're going to correct for this double stitch we have here, because you've got 2 stitches there, and we're going to work a back post double around both posts. So I'm just going to yarn over. If you just pop your work forward, you're going to come around both of those posts, and then yarn over, bring it up to kind of tidy those 2 together, and then complete the double crochet. If you now look from the front, you see you've got them kind of tucked together here with that stitch. Coming back to the back. Now I want to, we're going to skip, there's going to be a stitch here that looks like there's a stitch there. You're going to skip that and going to work in these 3 half doubles, going to work a half double in each of those. Because these 2 stitches here, they look a little messy, they're from those trebles. So just focus on those 3 half doubles. Going to work a half double in each of those. That's 1, 2, and 3. Next is again those 2 front posts. So around both of those. Just want to bring them together. And complete the double crochet. Again, skipping those stitches, go to the half doubles and work 3. So 1, 2, and 3. And if you're in doubt, just quickly turn your work forward just to double check that you're working in those 3 stitches in between the trebles. Double yarn over. I'm just going to grab those last 2 posts and complete the double crochet. And again, in the 3 half doubles, work a half double. So that's 1 in each. 1, 2, and 3. Last stitch here is the front post double around that last front post treble. You have 4 stitches left. See, 1, 2, 3, 4. Work a half double on each of those. That's 1, 2, 3, and 4. If you look from the front, this is what your work looks like. You see you've tidied up this these front posts. So you've just pulled those 2 stitches nice together. You see, if you just pull your work up a bit, you can see you can even help it a bit further just to make it even more neat. So that completes row 10. At this point, you've got all the ingredients you need to complete this square. For the rest of this square, rows 11 and 12, you're going to work 2 rows of half doubles. So 1 row and another row. 2 rows of half doubles, and then you're going to repeat this zigzag pattern. So what we've just done for rows 9 and 10, you're going to repeat that. So it's 2 rows of half doubles, then a row 9 and a row 10 repeat, and then you're going to do rows 15 to 19 again, all half doubles. So quite a few rows of half doubles. So everything I've shown you is everything you need to complete this square. So work 2 rows of half doubles, repeat the zigzag rows, and then work another band of half doubles. At the end of row 19, this is what your work looks like. You'll notice you've got 1 row less of half doubles on the top of your work than you have at the bottom. That's correct. So you've got 1 row less there. But if you do notice that your work is too short, do add an extra row there just to get it to the right height. My work is now approximately 14.5 by 14.5, something like that, 14. I'm now ready to do the edge, exactly the same as we've done before. So single crochets all the way around, 25 per edge, and 3 in the corner. And I'm going to mark the corners just to help me find them. And you see how this square has a nice textured pattern, and all the magic happens in the middle. Above and below is just rows of half doubles, and I'm sure you'll be able to do that just fine. I'm just going to go finish this square. When you finish the small square, this is what your square looks like. You've got all the single crochets all around. Still need to work away a few yarn tails, but for the rest this is done. When you've done the small square and you want to, you're ready for the large square. When you've done this small square, you're ready to do the large square. And as you can see, the large square is a variation on the small square. So everything you've done here in the small, you're also going to do in the large square. So I'm going to refer you to the written pattern for this. You're going to start by again working in a number of rows of half doubles. Then you'll work a few half doubles, or single crochets I should say. Then you're going to work these the zigzags, a few more singles and a few more zigzags, and these zigzags are exactly the same as those for the small square. And then come back, catching all those stitches with the back post stitches, so exactly the same as you've done for the small square. And the difference here is you're not going to work 2 rows, but you're actually going to work 7 rows, and then again finish with a number of half double crochet stitches, an X number of rows. Now, so this is a variation on the small square, and I'm sure if you can do the small square, you can also do the large square. I used a 3.5mm hook with this Scheepjes River Washed yarn to get this square, but if you have a different gauge, you might need a different hook size, and that's just fine. So I'm not going to show you this. I'm going to step by step, because it's exactly the same stepwise as it is for the small square. So I'm going to refer you to the written pattern. That brings us to the end of this video, to the end of this, what I believe is part 5. I hope to see you again soon for the next part.